Next guest's a busy man, and he's got good reason to be. He is the mayor of the super city, our largest population centre, the driver, the engine room of our economy, and a city that's got its problems and has been in the news much lately. The government's pulled the regional fuel tax that was meant to pay for various transport projects around Auckland, and in response, Mayor Wayne Brown pulled all the projects and stopped all the projects that it was meant to be funding. He has turned out as a mayor, I think, not to be a right-winger or a left-winger, but to be an Auckland winger. And it seems to me he's on the march again. So I thought it would be a good time to catch up with Mayor of the Super City, Auckland, Wayne Brown. Wayne, thanks for taking the time this morning to join us. First up, I just want to talk about that thing, the axing of the regional tax, and then you go and say, stop work on that, stop work on that, stop work on that. Did they must have told you that the regional tax was going? Surely you can just milk the ratepayers for a little more money to get those projects done?
Well, not really. The thing is that was a promise that they made, that they were going to do that, but they didn't actually say that we're going to stop them. Look, they save you money on your petrol, but you force them there to shove your rates up.
Is it that simple a transfer? Is it that simple a choice, Wayne?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to put the rates up for that. It was a promise that they made, and they've stopped them. Some of those things I'm quite happy to stop, but a lot of them I'm not. A lot of them people will miss out on them. But you've got to understand that they weren't entirely open about the consequences of it. It's true, they're having a bit of fun with revenge politics at the moment, stopping a lot of things.
Okay, so you're saying
Eventually
that you were not consulted about the end of the tax and the financial implications that would have for those projects that you've now cancelled?
No, I was told that they were going to stop the tax, but there was no. If you stop the money, you either get some more from somewhere else, or you stop doing what you're doing. So we decided we'd stop doing what we're doing. I don't want to hit the ratepayers any harder. It seemed completely ludicrous that you use the cost of living to reduce the price of petrol in order to make some people pay more in rates. If we're going to reduce the cost of living, that's good. They've done that. But we'll just stop all those things it was going to pay for and then see what happens.
Okay. Were they pissed off when you cancelled the projects? And have they corresponded with you about that? Have they had any discussion with you?
Yeah, we have discussions. There were some of the things with raised pedestrian crossings and some safety stuff that I was never convinced was a good spend in the first place, but it was what the last government liked us to do and funded 50% of. And so I was happy to stop those. But there are a whole lot of other roading projects that we're supposed to pay for. And you can't take $600 million a year out of us, plus their ability to borrow against that and expect us to carry on. It's just a recipe for financial ruin.
All right, it sounds to me like you guys need to get together, sit around a table and says, here's the plan. Here's how we're going to fund it and get on with it.
That's what I want to do. We have the expectation of having an Auckland integrated transport plan, which never existed. It's for goods and people. And I made a bit of progress with this under Labor until the then Minister of Transport trod on a landline and blew his leg off. And then we had an election, and we have yet to progress the integrated transport plan, although everyone seems to agree it's a good idea.
Well, geez, you need to get on with it, Wayne. Someone does.
Well, I can't. I've got to be partnered with the government into that. And the government have also promised a lot of roads of national party significance. A lot of them in Auckland was very poor benefit-cost ratios, which will eat up some money we want to do somewhere else. So there will be a bit of an arm wrestle.
Are you accusing national MPs of basically pork barrel politics by getting preference for roading projects in their electorates?
No, that's just politics. It's just the way it is in New Zealand. The last one promised all sorts of things, and the new one's promising something else. But there's not actually a clear path of how they're going to pay for it. And the regional fuel tax was actually a clear path to pay for some things. And I'm determined that Auckland will decide what we have, not Wellington or various parts of elected politicians. I mean, we've already had a bit of a wrestle. This is my city, and then someone said, they said, it's my country. And I think, not actually quite right, that actually. I was voted by the whole city. I just get in for a particular suburb. And so, there's a bit
and I think it'd be fair to say the perception of you was that you were a righty, and certainly your opponents in running were lefties. You seem to have emerged as an Aucklandie, as a north of the Bombay Hills, this is a city and this is who I represent guy. But
it's pretty much, that's right. I mean, I would say that I'm socially liberal and fiscally conservative. So where does that put you?
Yeah.
I'm not mad about either of the parties, to be quite honest. So, and within the council, there isn't a clear left and right. In fact, there's sort of left, extreme left, and then not quite sure left.
All right.
And Morris Williamson, who is on the right.
Okay, so he's a right winger, you're saying.
He's it.
So what are the most pressing issues facing Auckland, and what are your expectations of this new government to help you solve them? Because I think it would be fair to say you're not a guy who looks down to Wellington and says, could you please fix this for us? In fact, quite the opposite. What can Wellington do to get out of the way of Auckland solving its own problems?
Lots. Just dissolve themselves in acid would be a good start. Probably a bit harsh. What are the main problems? There's a lot of them, really. A lot of the problems stem from the way the place was set up. It was set up in a rash of idiocy from the people, combination of National Act at the time. It went to a lot of trouble to make sure we don't have control of council-controlled organisations. And so people are going crooked me over Auckland Transport, doing this, that and the other. And in fact, it takes a pretty staunch sort of bring them into the headmaster's room and barking at them to make any progress at all. It's very hard to change the board because I've got 20 people, some of whom are extreme left and some of them are not. And they all have their views and I have to listen to those. But so it's hard to that extent. Auckland Transport is slowly coming around and listening. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
It would have been good if it had done a bit quicker. Then we have a whole lot of legislation problems which are ridiculous. The Parliament in Wellington is the only place that can set out parking fines, for instance. We don't have the ability to even do that. We can't set a bed tax so that we can't raise funds to do a whole lot of tourism things that Australia and Sydney and those other cities that put on big concerts do because they have a bed tax. And the last government, of course, had an independent.
Well, it strikes me there are still, even the amount of time you've been in, you're still very frustrated by the way the super city you are mayor of, its ability to solve its own problems. It sounds to me
everything has to work with government, and the thing starts off by having the government have to treat Auckland and vice versa with mutual respect. We are a third of the country and 40% of the GDP. We tend to have been treated by previous governments, and one or two in this government are already starting to think that way, that we're just like another council like Horowhenua or somewhere, but we're not. And it's set up as a regional government, and I expect to be treated as a regional government. I have at least got the Prime Minister to agree to quarterly meetings along with various ministers, and he probably won't want to come to them, but he's going to come to them. And we want to be taken seriously. We are asking them for the GST back on rates. It's not a silly thing like GST.
Okay, so look, that's a very specific request.
Well, it's one that they came up with. The last government came up with it, and during the thing that the taxpayers paid for someone to write a report about the future of local government, and that's what it recommended.